Hello everyone, welcome to this class. In this class, we are going to start solving for surds. We spend a lot of time explaining how we derive the cosine, the sine, and the tan. Now we have to go and put it into action using these graphical expressions here. Now here we are being told to find x and y. Remember what I told you when we are trying to prove for these angles. I told you that anytime you see this sign, I think in the equation the sign is also here too. Pardon me. Anytime you see this sign, it means that here is 90 degrees. So here is 90 degrees. But without being told, you already know that here is 60 degrees. If you use the equation of the total angle in a triangle is 180. So if here is 90, here will be 60 because 90 plus 30 plus 60 will give you 180. The same way, if here is 92, here will be 45 because 90 plus 45 plus 45 will give you 180. Now, here is 6 cm, and that's the only thing given to us. Remember, we've been using Pythagoras theorem a lot in this class. Remember what we said about Pythagoras theorem, that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the square of the opposite plus the square of the adjacent. Let's just use this as our expression. Now, hypotenuse is anyone that is facing 90 degrees. Use it to always know hypotenuse. It doesn't mean when we are growing up in primary school, most of the time they draw it like this. So we always assume anytime anyone here is hypotenuse, but no. Even if you have something like this and you see angle 90 degree here, just know that this is the hypotenuse automatically. So let's go back. This is 90 degree. Now we have 6 cm. So what they're trying to say is the square of this place is equal to the square of here plus the square of here. But also, we might not use Pythagoras theorem to solve this. We can also use our surds, since these are special angles that we already know the answer. So what are we going to do? We all know that, let's try to look for surd that will involve what we are looking for. We are looking for this, right? X. So the best way to look for it is, this is 60 degrees. I know I've made this thing rough. I'm sorry for that. This is 60 degrees from what I did. And we all know that opposite over adjacent is tan. Remember the so, ka, tua. Tan is opposite over adjacent. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. While sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So this 60 now, the one facing it opposite is 6 cm. So tan 60 is equal to this one, which is opposite, which is 6 cm over adjacent, which is the x that we are looking for. From our previous class, we all know that tan 60 is equal to root 3. Tan 60 is equal to root 3. So we now have root 3 is equal to 6 all over x. So we now make x the subject of the formula by doing cross. Let's say this is 3 over 1. We will cross multiply. It will be 3x. Sorry, x root 3 is equal to 6. So our x is now 6 all over root 3. If you divide both sides by root 3, we have 6 all over root 3. That's for x. And remember, we always want to remove surd from under, so we can say this is equal to 6 all over root 3 multiplied by root 3 all over root 3. So any number multiplying itself is itself, so it will be 6 root 3 all over 3. So we can still cancel 3 divided by 6. We now have 2 root 3. This is the final answer for x. The next we have to solve is for y. So solving for y, you have to look for something that will connect y to our trick that we've done. And what's the best thing? We have, we already know that here is 2 root 3. So we add it here. Hope it's visible. So the next thing we are going to do is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's how we are connecting it. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And what is adjacent over hypotenuse? Cos. So we have cos. We are now solving for y. Solving for y. We now have cos 45 degrees is equal to adjacent, which is 2 root 3 all over y. So what you are supposed to do is just make sure that you get something like this, that only the unknown will be the number you are looking for. If you make it to be too unknown, it will become more complex. That's why I have to solve for x first to get this part, so I can use this part to solve for y. So let's go to the next. So we now have cos 45 from what we did in the last class is root 2 all over 2. Will now be equal to 2 root 3 over y. Let me write it here. Cos 45 is root 2 all over 2. Always confirm these figures because we've done it, that's why I'm not repeating it here. So we now do cross multiply. It will now have 2y root 2 is equal to 4 root 3. So y, dividing both sides by root 2, we now have 4 root 3 all over root 2. And remember, we don't always leave roots under sort for final answer, so I'll still do 4 root 3 all over root 2 multiplied by root 2 all over root 2. So this multiplied by this will be 4 root 3 times 2, 6 all over 2. When two sorts multiply themselves, you have the whole number. So 2 divide, you now have 2 root 6 as your y. This is the first example. So let's solve one more example. So this is the next example we are going to do. This is exercise 1J. This is 1, not I. 1J. Now, first, let's complete the angles of this. We already have here as 90 degrees, here as 60 degrees. So what will here be? 30 degrees, obviously. Because 30 plus 60 plus 90 is 180. Coming to this side, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, what will here be? 45 degrees. 45 plus 45 plus 90 is 180. Now, we are being told to look for x and y. The first question you ask yourself, which one will I look for first? Look for the one that when you start solving it, only that one will be your problem, the one that you're looking for. Now, we are supposed to look for x first because 4 is already here. And we can say adjacent over hypotenuse. Remember, this is the hypotenuse of these two triangles. Here is 90 degrees, so this is the hypotenuse of this triangle here. And here is also the hypotenuse of this second triangle. So, first thing we're going to look for is x. So, find x. And now, this is 45 degrees. You can also use this to look for it. It doesn't mean, just understand the concept. You can also use these angles. Here will give you opposite over hypotenuse. Anyone you use, you still get the same correct answer. So let me use 45. I will now have adjacent over hypotenuse, which is our cos. So catua, always remember this. So cos 45 degrees is adjacent. Adjacent of 45 is 4 over hypotenuse, which is x. So cos 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. So we'll now say root 2 over 2 is equal to 4 over x. So we'll now cross multiply. This will multiply this, while this multiply is still the same. So it will be x root 2 is equal to 2 times 4, which is 8. So making x the subject of the formula, we have 8 all over root 2. This answer is correct. But we always want to, as I said, I keep repeating myself. So I will solve further. X is 8 root 2 multiplied by root 2 all over root 2. 8 times root 2, you have 8 root 2. Why root 2 times root 2 is 2. So x is now equal to, this cancel this, 4 root 2. When you've gotten this 4 root 2, you now put it here, 4 root 2. That's what you now use to look for your y. Find y. So y will now be, what are we going to use? You can use this as adjacent. Wait, here is like this. So the best thing you can say, this is already facing 30 degrees. So we are looking for y. We are going to look for the one that will connect us to y. So this is 60 degrees. So I can say that. So I can solve it in two different ways. I can say opposite over hypotenuse, or that's sine 30, or I can say adjacent over hypotenuse, which is like cos 60. Anyone I use, I'll still get the answer. So, but let me choose sine 30, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So that will be sine. I know this triangle, the way it's drawn, it will be confusing. Most important thing you are supposed to get in is always know that the one facing 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. Now looking at it, we all know that adjacent is the one that the angle is sitting on. So here now you will not be confused, like, okay, where is it sitting on? Is it sitting on the hypotenuse? Obviously it cannot sit on the hypotenuse. So anywhere it's sitting on, when you have this triangle like this, here is the adjacent, right? Here is the opposite. It's very clear. But when you start having figures that are disfigured in this way, it might confuse you. So just always know that in this case, it seems as if it's sitting on this one, meaning that since here is the hypotenuse, you just know that here is not the adjacent. And since it's a right angle triangle, you already know that here is the adjacent. Anyone facing it, the opposite is usually not the problem. Like here now, we all know that here is the opposite. The only problem is you cannot ask yourself which is the adjacent of this 60 degrees. It's obviously not this one, it's this one, because here is hypotenuse. Hope that one is clear. So sine 30, which is opposite, which is the y we are looking for, over hypotenuse, which is the x that we've already found. And hypotenuse in this case is 4 root 2. Sine 30 is what? 1 over 2 from what we've done. Sine 30 is 1 over 2. So it's just for you to be remembering these things. I can easily say because I already know them, but you can just always try to remember and make it part of you. So it will be 1 over 2 equal to y over 4 root 2. So you do cross multiplication. You have 4 root 2 times 1, which is still 4 root 2, is equal to 2 times y, which is 2y. Sorry. Let me say 2y. So you now say 2y is equal to 4 root 2. So y is, divide both sides by 2, 2 root 2. This is y. So this is our y, and that over there is our x. So try to solve more examples so you can understand this. Remember what I told you. Remember your so, ka, tua. And also remember that your hypotenuse is the any side that is facing the 90 degrees. Adjacent is the one your angle is sitting on. In this case, this is adjacent for this 45. In cases where you have this kind of confusion here, still maintain your hypotenuse, while the other one will be your adjacent, and anyone facing the angle is the opposite. So let's solve word problem and use it and close this class.